Assalamu alaikum everyone. I welcome you all to episode 2 of MedConnect, Paving the Pathway to Success. I am Javeria Shafiq from D27 and a volunteer at PWA, which is a non-governmental, non-political, Dow medical student-run organization working in Dr. Ruth Kampao Civil Hospital, Karachi for the last 4 decades. Currently, it provides two free of cost services. One, blood transfusion services, under which we provide almost 150 screened blood bags daily to the patients of Civil Hospital and all around Karachi. Two, thalassemia services, under which almost 220 thalassemia patients are provided blood transfusion, treatment, management under the under the guidance of a consultant hematologist. That For today's episode, our guest is Dr. Mohammad Sohaib Khan, a 2012 Dow Medical College graduate who is now a resident general surgery and a clinical research fellow in surgical oncology at UT Southwestern Medical Center. We are pleased to have you here. How are you, sir?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah ji, guzar rahi hai. Thank you for having me.
We are glad to hear that. I'll now hand over the session to you. You can begin.
Thank you ji. So let's try sharing my screen first, which is always a technical step. Okay. Okay. Can you guys see this? Can you guys see this?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Sounds good. It would have been nice if I was able to see you guys while this was happening. Let me figure it out. All right. Challenge, let's start. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Wonderful. Okay, ji. So thank you for having me once again, and thank you for that introduction, Javeria. We're going to talk about some paths and some ways towards achieving success today. What is this based on? It's a huge part, I would say more than 90% of is my perspective and experience that I was able to gather over the period of whatever number of years I've been pursuing this journey, and of the people around me. And that is very important too. And I have been blessed to be surrounded by many great people who are in the field of science, in the medicine. Meri Begum, she's a AU graduate, currently working as starting her job as a rheumatologist in the US. So she completed internal medicine residency here, and then is pursuing and then did the rheumatology fellowship, and now is starting her job. So I have the perspective from what an AKU standpoint and internal medicine standpoint in the US. My bade bhai, who's been a source of inspiration and who's also a former PWA volunteer and life member, Sohaib bhai. He is also working as a family medicine attending here at San Francisco, and he's also a great guy. And his journey has been very motivating and inspirational for me, and I've learned so much from him. In addition, my sisters were both doctors. My एक बहन और उनके husband जो है, they are practicing as family medicine attendings in the Sharjah. And my other sister, who's also a PWA volunteer, she just completed her training in hematology and pediatrics. also from Pakistan, and my brother-in-law, he's also working as a orthopedics attending there. And before putting this together, I did speak to some of my colleagues, again, PWA volunteers. Saqib Bakshi, जिनको आप सब जानते होंगे. He is currently, of course, mashallah, very a star attending in neurosurgery at AKU, and Komal Baloch, great colleague of mine from back in the day, and a great friend, and who's heading the ICU unit now at the critical care unit in this hospital. So a lot of perspectives, and but of course this is subjective, because when you talk about perspectives, there is less facts that you can gauge, so people can have varying opinions. So that is a disclaimer that I would definitely state here, because these are subjective thoughts and experiences that I'm sharing here. So what are we going to talk about today? Thoda sa falsafa, what is success, and then how do we work towards it, which will be more about practical stuff, and where and how can we achieve it, the various pathways that exist out there, jo aap logon ko I'm sure bahut achhi tarah pata hai, but we'll have some thoughts on that as well. So my objective of having this session with you guys, of course aapke apne maqasid hain. What I'm trying to convey, the message from this presentation or this talk will be to sort of give you an additional perspective of what you can achieve from your careers, what you should be thinking of right now, and what you should have in mind in terms of what is needed to achieve your passions, your dreams, your goals, your objectives, however you want to label it. So that is my objective. Let's see how we're able to achieve it or not. So are you able to see this slide, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. So करने का काम ये है कि type this address in your search in Chrome or whatever internet explorer you guys use, and there will be a question there, what is success? And I want you guys to sort of answer in whatever words you want to sort of have an idea of what everyone thinks about that. So it is pollev.com/MUHAMMADSOHAIDKHAN403. And let me know if it's not working or if it's when it starts to work. The silence is deafening. Is anyone trying?
It is working.
Oh,
It is
wonderful.
open for me.
Challenge over this. But challenge. Let's wait for the responses. It might not work, and then we'll just move on. Well, there you go. Self-respect, life contentment. Let's give it a minute. Okay. Gratification, accomplishment, respect. Wonderful. Accomplishment. Accomplishment is winning and satisfaction. Sahi. Vision. Sukoon. We can say that, I think. Family. Able. Nice. Excellent. So we all have our perspectives of what success is for us, for each one of us. Able is winning. Accomplishment is winning. Awesome. Wonderful. Okay. Nice. So yes, all of those things. And that is true. Success is different for different people. So let's talk about my journey and what success for me. So I come from a humble background, middle class, Karachi based. This is just, I'm sharing some pictures apne purane zamane ki. This is me in Saudi Arabia. That was where I did my initial schooling. And then from there, I went to this humble school, Gulshan Iqbal Block 2, Zabardast, Zindabad. Shine Public School, nothing too fancy, no KGS, no Beacon House. Sada, very sada. Did my metric from there. Then went to this another simple place, Adamji Government Science College, no Lyceum, nothing very fancy again. So humble backgrounds. Uske baad, this is our first year of Dow Medical College. You might see some familiar spaces or not because sab bude ho chuke hain. This is first year bake sale. And I'm here, standing here in the middle, and you can see some of your friends as well. So बाकी time फिर Dow/PWA में गुजरा. And then फिर हमारी हो गई graduation. And this is our graduation picture, which is kind of nice. So this is back in 2012. So towards the end of that period, my perspective of my journey and myself and my vision was somewhat like this. Kuega Mendak, where you're basically, you have a vision of only the part of the sky that you can look at from the bottom of the well. You don't know beyond what lies beyond all that. And what all that you can dream of is only what you can actually see. If you don't think that there's anything beyond the part of that sky that you can see and those walls, then that is just your perspective. And that is my analogy for where I think I was. And I still feel that some of our good friends who are in the same stage might be. And it's not no one's fault, it's just how things are. And that does not only apply to us in Pakistan, it applies to everyone everywhere in the world. Like, we see the part of the world that we actually see, and unless and until we make an effort to see beyond it, we would not know about what lies beyond. So, but then around that same time, I had this sort of eagerness to look beyond, and that also came from a lot from my brother and from the experiences and observations. And us waqt Dow Medical College Civil Hospital was my baseline. So the red building of Aga Khan University sort of used to give me tachycardia, make me weak in my knees. कि जी बस किसी तरह आगा खान पहुंचना है कुछ भी करने के लिए, रेजिडेंसी करने के लिए, electives करने के लिए. And I was just going through some stuff last night, and I found this kind of interesting. 2011 mein, I wrote this big long letter to Nadeem Bhai, who's also another of our PWA volunteer and life member, and mashallah, very, very well settled and well established vascular surgeon at Aga Khan University. और उस वक्त मैंने उनसे रिक्वेस्ट की थी 2011 में कि नदीम भाई हेल्प कर दें, मुझे electives चाहिए. Of course, he was very kind and very helpful. But that was where I sort of started. And honestly, उस वक्त there, at the same time, around that time, I had my brother who was doing his research at Aga Khan University and then had moved to the US. And I saw him publish exponential numbers of papers more than what he was publishing at AKU in a span of an year or two. And that was kind of really eye-opening for me. Ji, how is it कि जी पाकिस्तानी environment से एक बंदा उठ के जो जैसे अमेरिका जाता है, वो all of a sudden he mashallah can become so productive, so impactful, presenting in the leading conferences of the world in a span of months to a year or more than a year. And that sort of made me ask questions. क्यों आखिर, why is that Pakistan में रहते हुए, coming from the background that I just shared with you, we have different ideas and notions of what is possible for us. And as soon as we move beyond that beyond those walls, how they change to becoming so drastically different and better. And then on the other hand, Khan ka experience hua, mashallah se, it is the premier institute in terms of health education and health provision. Of course, people can debate that, but arguably it is. And वहाँ जाके मुझे एहसास हुआ जी कि even though mashallah Khan University is the leading in terms in Pakistan, is it still, how does it compare to the rest of the world in Pakistan ki yada? So arguably it is. And वहाँ जाके मुझे एहसास हुआ जी कि even though mashallah Khan University is the leading in terms in Pakistan, is it still, how does it compare to the rest of the world, in my opinion, in my perspective, and this is all my perspective. And I realized that in terms of the quality of services, great. But in was ice cream wala aa gaya. Zabardast. Okay. MashaAllah, Pakistan ki yaad aa gayi. Anyhow, so बात ये हो रही थी कि क्यों आखिर अमेरिका में लोग they can develop so fast and why can't we? Why are we unable to? And AKU, how is it that AKU is providing great services, it provides great education, it has a structured system that exists, but is it close to where the leading institutes of the world? And for me, the answer was no. People may disagree with that, but it still is no for me. Because it's good, it's great, they do research, but is it research that changes the shape of practice, that influences it so much that people's lives get better in any shape or form? It does produce great professionals, but is it all the way there where I wanted to go? So where did I want to go? And that's where I would ask every one of you to sort of dare yourselves to dream. Dream, ji, aakhir dunya mein, like if you look up in the sky is really the limit. Like in terms of what you can dream of, you should not shy away from thinking and dreaming anything. Because that is between you and Allah Ta'ala, who is the only other person who can know unless you tell someone. So that is what I did. I had a lot of dreams then. And that is what my request and suggestion and recommendation to all of you will be, to dream. घबराने की जरूरत नहीं है. ख्वाब देखना अच्छी बात है. हमारे उर्दू की किताब में पढ़ा था, अल्लामा इकबाल भी यही कहते थे. तो but then alongside dreaming, it is also important to sort of know what you need to do towards achieving that. And the bigger and the more crazier your dreams are, the more unsure and unclear your pathway towards it's going to be. Because जाहिर सी बात है, कोई मुश्किल चीज अगर करनी है तो बहुत लोगों ने नहीं की भी होगी, और अगर बहुत लोगों ने नहीं की भी होगी तो they will not have the experience to share with you. And that realization is important. Knowing that the journey that you're pursuing is difficult, is important. It's realizing that is crucial. Having a false sense of self-contentment and pride के जी सही है, ख्वाब तो बहुत जबरदस्त देख लिए और लग रहा है कि हम सबको अचीव भी कर लेंगे, while having sort of that कुएं का मेंढक narrow vision is dangerous, and that is recipe for failure. So you should know, or try to know and realize that what is needed to be done towards achieving your dreams is a lot, and there's possibly a lot that you might not even know about until you go through your journey, and that can become scary as well. And once you sort of have a dream and you sort of know what you want to do, and that was sort of my projection at that time, okay, you can dare to be different. Like Pakistan mein, लोगों के medical colleges में सब में there is a huge, I feel, and this is just my impression coming from all the social networks and discussions with you guys, कि जी मुझसे बाहर निकलना है, ट्रेनिंग हासिल करनी है, अमेरिका जाना है, अमेरिका जाना है, अमेरिका जाना है. Fine, great, everyone wants to do that. But what everyone wants may not be the best thing for you, may not be the best thing for your team, for your goals, and for your objectives. So if you think that there's a different pathway towards having your success and achieving your goals, then dare to be different. How this translates into my journey, I wanted to have the best possible training, achieve excellence, and excellence can have various different definitions for everyone. And I wanted to go into academia and pursue research, and I wanted to do surgery. All of these things were sort of my dream, and that was the short-term 10-year dream. The long-term dream can be somewhat even more different. But that was like a 10-year goal at that time. And in terms of what I dared to know was that I realized that back then, coming out from Dow Medical College, I wasn't ready enough. And I did not feel confident enough. And then secondly, I also realized that I needed back at home. And thirdly, what I did know back then was that my financial situation is stable, alhamdulillah, but it is that lucrative that I multiple applications with knowing that some might fail in pursuit of surgery. So पहले तो अपनी अम्मा को compromise करूँ उनकी care को, फिर मैं पाकिस्तान से बाहर चला जाऊँ, and then risking all the money and financial resources that I have, and then still while knowing that I am not ready enough for pursuing surgery. And this was again based on my experiences of observerships. Right after house job ki steps kiye usi waqt, and then I went for my observerships, and then I sort of realized okay ji, that is what the sky beyond the well of Civil Hospital Dow Medical College looks like, how the world is so different and what it is like there. So that's when I decided to be different from everyone else. I decided that I will Pakistan mein residency karunga, and I planned that out that way. I will use the resources of the best institute that exists in Pakistan and use that experience to sort of build another application, build my resume and my application towards a match of some sort. Us waqt I wasn't clear if I was going to pursue a fellowship in the US versus, again, another training. But that was a thought process then. And then, of course, once you go through the process of training, and that is what I did at Aga Khan University, the surgery की training की पता चला कि okay, एक तरीका एक सिविल अस्पताल में काम करने का तरीका है और एक है आगा खान हॉस्पिटल में काम करने का तरीका, which is I can tell you with certainty कि it is in many ways similar to what the practices that are prevalent in the US. So अगर आपको पाकिस्तान का, अगर आपको अमेरिका का एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए और आपको कहीं और नहीं मिल रहा, आप एक ही जाके एक्सपीरियंस हासिल करें, and that is going to sort of replicate in some ways what a US experience looks like, in some ways, not in all the ways, of course. Or using the resources at Aga Khan University, I did complete some researches. I published papers in the US, and I'm sharing all of this not to boast about anything, and just to share with you my journey. This is what got me where I am right now. And this journey was not without failures, and you have to be very willing to fail, and which I did. Third year, Khan University residency, Harvard mein program for global surgery ki fellowship hoti hai. I got great immense support to apply it and get it, and support from huge personalities all over the world, including Aga Khan and my chair and everyone. I interviewed Aga Khan mein baith ke, and I failed. I did not get it. And that was really a very sort of a humbling moment for me. Because by that time, I had started to present in the US. मुझे लग रहा था कि okay, जबरदस्त, कोई और नहीं कर रहा है, क्यों से भी कोई present नहीं करता. And I'm a published resident. मैंने published भी की हुई है. I get good feedback from my faculty at Khan University, and I was sort of up there. और फिर जी, so that was sort of another humbling moment कि जी, even though you realize that you're making great progress, it's not enough until you put yourself out there and test yourself. We need to realize that it might not be enough, and we need to fail. And then when we fail and we fall down, we need to learn from those experiences. We need to critically analyze why that happened, what we could do differently, and be a better person coming out of that experience. That is so super important. किसी शायर ने क्या खूब कहा है जी कि what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we need to become stronger. And we need to rise. The only real failure is if you actually fail to get back up when you fall. And that is so true. The number of times you get back up, the more stronger you will be, and the more prepared you will be towards your goals. And that was my experience. I applied for surgery match here. पहले साल prelim मिला, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of struggle. And it's not just you, it's because as you go through your years, your family, you get married, it's a journey, it's a process that you're not going through alone, your loved ones are going through with you. And Allah ka shukar hai, this is now where I am. And you should not give up. And then once you are where you are, you should, alhamdulillah, be ready to not have set limits for yourself. And that is what my biggest message to you would be in terms of what you can achieve. And the reason I'm saying this is a lot, and we can talk some more later, that don't set limits for yourself. So if you guys ask me what is success for you, and thank you for sharing all your perspectives, and mera isme additionally ye kahunga ji, you need to sort of define what moves you. What was very moving for me back then was my passion for surgery and surgical excellence and academic excellence. And the differential that exists still now to this day between Pakistan, the quality of healthcare, the quality of academia, versus the leading institutes of the world, which I biasly believe are in the US. So that was the real defining and moving moment for me. And I recommend you, all of you guys, to sort of reflect on that. What moves you? Is it, and it can be different for everyone. It can be something specific for someone is like, yeah, family. What kuch ho jaye zindagi mein, maine family ko nahi chhodna, I want to be by their side, and that's totally fine. That is your decision. Know it, own it, and live it. किसी के लिए जी के पैसा, money. I need money. I have lived in a certain way for the entire life that I know of myself, and I want to get somewhere. I want to be free, independent. Again, think about it. If that is your goal, make it your goal. If it's excellence in a particular field that moves you, know about it. And it can be multiple things for multiple people, and often is. कोई एक चीज नहीं होती जो आपको move करती है, and if that is the case, then you need to know all of those things so that you can plan accordingly. Because in the end of the day, I do not think that one size fits all. हर किसी को एक ही तरीके से जिंदगी नहीं गुजारनी. All of us are different. We all have our circumstances that we live in. We all have our own set of resources. We have all our strengths and weaknesses that are different from person to person. So, अगर आपको कोई एक set formula दे रहा है, सबको बेच रहा है जी कि this is the way, do it and achieve your dreams, then I don't know. I don't think it will work. So, know your circumstances, know your limitations, know your strengths, dream big, and then know what is needed to achieve those dreams, and don't be afraid. So this was the first part of this presentation. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, then we can just keep going forward. And honestly,
guys, you can type your questions in the chat box.
so are you still seeing my presentation? Oh, yes.
Yes,
Sorry.
we are.
Wonderful. Wait a minute. Okay, questions in the chat box. Okay, wonderful. So far, it's been motivating and encouraging. Okay, thank you so much. I don't see any additional questions there, so let's keep going. All right.
There is one.
Oh,
Should I read
how
it?
do you tackle self-doubt during your journey? Oh, excellent question. Self-doubt. I think the amount of self-doubt each one of us has is different. And one strategy that I had for me is what if I fail, what will I really lose? एक ही जिंदगी है अल्लाह ताला ने दी हुई. If I'm not going to live it the way I want, if I'm not going to pursue all that I want to, or make an effort towards it, then क्या फायदा? What is the, like, of course, living in regret is something that I don't want for myself. So yes, being unsure and being unclear is very painful and very mind-boggling. डाउट्स आते हैं आपकी जिंदगी में, बहुत ज्यादा आते हैं, हर स्टेज पे आते हैं, स्पेशली जब आते हैं when you're at crossroads, when you see कि जी कौन से, like there are two pathways in front of you. मेरी जिंदगी में बहुत मर्तबा ऐसे crossroads आए कि जी I could go to the US and do research and spend the next number of years and then apply for residency, versus I can stay at AKU, continue my residency there, and I chose the latter. And you are not sure, you are doubting yourself कि जी okay आपने फैसला तो कर लिया, but you need to make those decisions not emotionally but logically, based on you knowing yourself and the evidence that is in front of you in terms of what is possible, and living your best life, knowing that it is the one life that you have. कोशिश तो की ना, हार गए तो खैर अल्लाह मालिक, but every effort that you make towards achieving your goal, you only learn. लोग पूछते हैं कि मैंने स्टेप्स, मैं उस वक्त भी कहता था कि यार मैंने स्टेप्स तो देने ही देने, मैं नहीं किया तो, and honestly मेडिकल स्कूल ने मुझे जितना सिखाया था उतना सिखाया था, but then जब स्टेपिंग की और उसके बाद I sort of did a holistic review of the entire all of the course material again, I was so much more well educated than I felt. So even if I failed, I still gained. मैंने FCPS part 1 ही उसकी basis पे clear कर लिया था. So if you're putting your effort towards it, you're always learning. So you're never going back in any way. So अगर doubt है तो खैर है, fail हो जाएगा, but you will still be in the positive, not in the negative, compared to if you don't start anything. Okay, what are the soft skills? We will definitely talk about that in more detail. For people who, like me, started USMLE journey late, how does the year of graduation matter, and how can they be stand out from the other applicants? I'm also pursuing surgery. We'll talk that in more detail in the third section. But great question. Because late is variable. Did you have prior research experience before part of your AQ research project residency? Another excellent question. Unlike many of you guys who are publishing great papers now, which I can see from reviewing some of those CVs, I published one paper. वो भी in fact Dr. Zakiuddin जी उनवाला, जो हमारे पुराने patron होते थे PWA के, and हमदर्द के surgery के dean थे, उनके साथ मिलके हमने एक survey किया था, and that I was able to publish in a decently respectable journal. So that was my one experience. Great. Did you get any guidance on taking a different direction, and who are the best people to give you advice? Excellent question. Of course, your peers, your seniors, they're always there to guide you. And as I am here, but as I said, realize this is a perspective. when I did get a lot of guidance, of course, मेरे बड़े भाई यहाँ पे अमेरिका में थे, उनसे मैंने मुसलसल बातें करता था, उनसे गाइडेंस लेता था. मेरे ब्रदर इन लॉ, उन्होंने भी यूएस की जर्नी परसू की थी, उनसे भी मैंने बातें की थी. इतने सारे सीनियर्स हमारे यहाँ पे मौजूद हैं, उन सबसे बातें की थी. एंड आई डिड टेक ऑल ऑफ दैट गाइडेंस, बट इन द एंड ऑफ द डे द डिसीजन इज योर्स, द डिसीजन इज माइन. जितने भी मशवरे मिल जाएं आपको, यू हैव टू डिसाइड फॉर योर लाइफ योरसेल्फ. जो आपको मशवरे दे रहा है, आप 5 साल बाद अगर उनके मशवरों पे अमल करके फेल हो गए, तो देन यू कैन नॉट ब्लेम देम कि आपने कहा था भाई उन्होंने तो कहा था लेकिन किया तो आपने है ना. तो वो कहाँ होंगे, आप कहाँ होंगे, यू विल बी लिविंग योर ओन लाइफ. सो यस, मशवरे लें, बट खुद फैसला करें व्हाट इज बेस्ट फॉर यू. Is applying a research associate an easier path to land an internship in terms of finances or just starting out? Great question. We can talk about that more in detail in the third section, where we're going to talk about less falsafa and more practical things, if that's okay with you guys. Chale aage.
Thank you guys for your questions, and thank you, Dr. Sohaib, for answering. We can move forward now.
Okay.
All the other questions could be answered in the end.
How do we work towards it? चलें जी, अब ये सवाल हो गया जी कि how do we work? The soft skills question I think will get covered here. तो देखें, एक तो कहीं भी आप चले जाएं, whatever path you pursue, be it the US or the UK or Australia or Papua New Guinea or Pakistan, there are certain basic skills that I want all of you to sort of know. I did not have those skills when I started off my journey, and I sort of realized how important they are for being a good professional. I don't know, I had never had anyone talk to me about them, but given the experiences that I had at AKU and before that in Dow and then now in the US, comparing ke zindagi kaise guzarti hai, I had my experiences. But chale, let's time for another poll. Same address, poll.ev.com/all that. So what is your perspective and what is needed to be successful? And let's give it 2 minutes for people to sort of एक मिनट दीजिएगा, जरा पानी पी गया है.
For anyone जिसके लिए QR code नहीं चल रहा, there is a link in the chat box. You can use that to answer.
Excellent. Work hard. Love that. Belief, confidence, passion, discipline. All good things. Mindset, dedication. Zabardast. Keep them coming. Leadership qualities. Wonderful. Consistent. Absolutely. Zabardast. Consistency. Heavy. Consistency jeetne ji. Awesome. So yes, some of the similar things that I have in my mind, all of those things that you guys brought up, and aapko sab pata hai, pata nahi mujhe kyun bula liya. Honesty. I hope things are better now, but when I was there, ye Pakistan ka काफी बड़ा मसला है. We are, and the level of dishonesty is so rampant, was so rampant that we often don't even realize. And that is not what I'm saying कि जी आप आलू लेने गए और उसने एक आलू कम दे दिया. I'm talking about our work environments. कि जी you're cutting corners. You are doing documentation that might not be true. You are doing research or engaging in products and research and modifying that data in some ways to just get some results and get a publication. You are like not portraying your merits in the best way and paying people to do some things for you that otherwise you're supposed to do yourself. Honestly, is so important. And the more earlier you realize that honesty is important, the better it is. Because the thing is that Pakistan mein to sab chalta hai na. You live in that environment. No one is judging you. Well, everyone is, because everyone is similar, same. Road pe gaadi mein se safar kar rahe hain. Koi nahi signal pe rukta. Be it a person who's coming out from the mosque or who's coming out from a bar or who's coming out from a decent ghar. Everyone's the same level. लेकिन उसी environment से उठ के जब हम यहाँ पर आते हैं और जहाँ पर honesty is the law of the land, so we struggle. Hard work goes without saying, and when I say hard work, and of course all of you guys are doing hard work and you have done it all your life. उसमें उनको तकलीफ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Mashallah, so you're in whatever college and working hard to get to places. So, but sometimes you need to do it if you want to achieve certain goals that is above and beyond your calling. Hard work that is more than what is expected of you. That sort of at times definitely makes you stand out. Knowledge की तो कोई comparison ही नहीं है. Knowledge मैंने डाउट गुजार दिया था और ये रियलाइज करते हुए एंड मकसद ये था कि एग्जाम्स पास हो जाएं खैरियत से. और आई डोंट नो उस जमाने में हमें एग्जाम्स पास करना कितना नॉलेज देता था. आई होप थिंग्स आर बेटर नाउ. लेकिन इन आवर फील्ड सारी गेमिंग नॉलेज पे, सारी नहीं बट मेजर, क्योंकि we are treating patients based on our knowledge base. If our knowledge is shaky and lacking, masla kharab. Knowledge is strong, and I know so many great examples out there जो कि इतने knowledgeable थे, and they are valued not only in Pakistan and all over the world, and especially in the US. Knowledge की बहुत value है. As if it reflects through your scores and standardized exams, awesome. If not, khair hai. As long as you're knowledgeable, these are the basic skills. This is the basic attribute that you need to have. Empathy and being caring. We feel we serve का जो नारा है PWA का, ये उस जमाने में तो लगता था कि PWA specific है, और alhamdulillah, having gone through the experiences of PWA, it taught us a lot. But that is not limited to that, just to the confines of PWA. It is so applicable to our daily environment, and that would make us great doctors and good professionals. Because the problem is that civil hospital mein kaam karte hue, we encounter people who are not like us, unfortunately. They are from a different background at times. Unka socio-economic, educational level different hai. So we oftentimes are unable to relate to them. But आप एक ही चले जाएं, आप किसी और जगह चले जाएं, आप अमेरिका आ जाएं, and it's not until you put yourself in their experience that you realize कि जी what they're going through, and then you start treating them differently. फिर जो हम free के examinations करते हैं मरीज पर 15 मर्तबा just for the sake of learning, we may approach that differently. We would not want that for ourselves. So being empathic and caring is super important. Being smart. मेहनत बेहतरीन, but सिर्फ मेहनत आजकल के ज़माने में नहीं चलेगी. You have to be very smart in terms of how you're projecting yourself, how you're projecting your mehnat. Everyone is out there to be successful, and in doing so, there will be some people who might be unsuccessful. So it's in a way they're after you. That's one way of looking at it. So you have to be smart. You have to be emotionally intelligent. You need to be aware of what is happening around you. And what other people might be thinking of you. You need not be paranoid about it, but you have to be aware of it. Okay, sari game, perceptions, interpersonal skills, which no one talks about during our medical school, but it is so important. And that is a recipe for success. Foresight and planning. आपको अपने goals set करके You need to be thinking not just 1 year, 2 year, 5 year. You need to be thinking 10 years and beyond is what I would ask you guys to do. And plan your life accordingly. You have to remain humble. आपके पास बहुत सारी successes आएंगी, and that is something that I've experienced in so many different ways from my failures. No matter how successful you are, you always can fail. And the higher you go, the more painful the fall is. The higher you go, the more exposed you are दूसरों की हरकतों से. So you have to stay humble. इज्जत और जिल्लत अल्लाह ताला की सब तरफ से है, दोनों आ सकती हैं. You have to remember that. Being polite is so important. पाकिस्तान में रिवाज नहीं है. सुन्नत तरीके पे अमल करना जरूरी है. And that is something that I learned when I came to the US and somewhat and from my experiences at AKU as well. Your behavior to people reflects of who you are as a person. Your silent language that is being spoken through your demeanor, through your facial expressions, your smile, your eye contact, that is so important. That conveys so many things to the person who you're talking to without you even uttering a word. Being principled is important. सही को सही, गलत को गलत समझना जरूरी है. That is valued. People of weak principles, they can only go so far. Hard work and persistence, you will fall. You have to be persistent. कहते हैं grit पे बहुत सारी videos आई हैं TED Talk की वगैरह की. You just have to keep going. थकना नहीं है, घबराना नहीं है, करते रहना है. You have to be optimistic and positive. Positivity, Pakistan से जब हम आते हैं, we have a sort of desperation inside of it. I had that desperation when I was going through my experiences at AKU कि यार बस निकलना है. And that gives a very negative vibe to other people around you. यार कहते हैं यार ये तो बंदा बहुत desperate है यार, ये तो बहुत ही बस बिछा हुआ है कि कुछ हो जाए. नहीं जी, थोड़ा सा you have to have self-respect. सही है, you are going to, you have to maintain a certain composure, and you have to remain positive and optimistic. कि जी negativity के मतलब this journey is long. If you get stuck in the hole of negativity and pessimism, तो फिर तो मसला खराब है. फिर तो you will be compromising on your personal well-being. You have to be compassionate as well. So this is not a very exhaustive list, and I think there are many, might be more attributes. These were just some of the things that I was sort of thinking about when I was making this presentation. So you have to be aware, ज़रूरी कुछ चीजें मैं highlight कर दूं, of your circumstances. हर कोई इस तरह मैंने पहले कहा different है. हर एक के पास same पैसे नहीं है, हर एक के पास same family commitments नहीं है, हर एक के पास same resources, same abilities नहीं है, same timing नहीं है. Challenges. Be aware of the challenges that lie ahead of you towards your goal and your success. अगर नहीं पता तो मसला खराब है. And as I said, plan 10 years in advance. अभी सोचेंगे डर लगेगा, but कभी आपको adrenaline rush भी मिलता है. Like you can envision yourself being at a certain point, and it may give you a false sense of euphoria, which of course is not helpful, but it sort of gives you a vision, a goal to work towards. Varna aap, and that is important because, and we'll talk about that in the next section too, because if you're not looking at where you're going, you don't know what you're capable of, what the limits that you can exceed. So brings us to another poll. Poll ka scene on hai. Where will you be in 10 years? That is my question to all of you guys. Where do you guys see yourself in 10 years? If you have any thoughts or neurosurgery. Okay. Wonderful. Sab neurosurgery जा रहे हैं. Zabardast.
Again, guys, the link is in the chat box. You can use that.
Thank you for doing that. It makes it so much easier.
You're most welcome.
श्योर जा रहे हैं ओके ठीक हो गया कार्डियोथोरैसिक सर्जरी establishing free cardiothoracic surgery healthcare academia a lot of big population is surgery where do you self in 10 years countries where do you self in 10 years wonderful rich I'm glad someone said that because zaruri hai ji paisa zindagi mein cardio wow so fitting surgery wala banda baitha to sab ko surgery mein jana hai you see yourself comfortable lovely I like that that's honest comfortable financially is what you're saying okay awesome great healthcare rich stable yeah and of course there's no great correct answer there but ye main aapse zarur kahunga ki wherever you see yourself in 10 years US America कर ली surgery कर ली then what is my question to you guys या पाकिस्तान में बैठ लिए surgery कर ली then what फिर क्या होना है हमारी जिंदगी में that is a question that I want you guys to reflect on and the reason that for that is कि जी now having come to the US अब माशाल्लाह से we have a huge alumni here एक है पूरा because I've been part of multiple universities now I am an AKU alumni courtesy of my residency from AKU and I am a Dow alumni courtesy of my medical education from Dow so I have access to multiple alumni and I can see the difference and people here know that for certainty proportionately speaking and this is just there's no hard and fast fact here this is just my perception of how the people I've encountered here Dow alumni they get to a subspecialty or a specialty and then they start practicing and AK alumni they also get into a subspecialty and they start practicing proportionately speaking AK alumni I see them more in academia trying to do work that has an impact beyond their scope of practice clinical practice is what I mean through academia, through business, through public health, through research. And that is not, proportionally speaking, that is quite less from Dow alumni perspective. हमारे लोग ज़्यादातर private practice में not to say one is better or the other, but I'm just sharing the proportionates. क्योंकि ज़ाहिर सी बात है private practice there like it's a great practice, it's a great life to live. But क्या ऐसा तो नहीं है कि like why is there such a stark proportional difference between the two alumni is what my question is. Because now I can talk to you about why that might be. The two practices are different in terms of what you need to go towards achieving anything towards it. Agar aapko academia or research mein jana hota, then you need to have a more robust profile in academics right from the beginning and right from the medical school onwards. Versus किसी को अगर private practice में जाना है तो it's different. You just need enough that allows you to get into a certain training and then a certain practice. Private practice pays more, academic practice pays less. That is also a fact, but it doesn't mean to say that it pays less compared to equivalent to Pakistan. No, it's many exponential times more than what is paid in Pakistan. But one of the underlying reasons for me is mere khayal se, and that is again an impression कि जी, is it possible कि the coming out of Dow we have a goal or an ambition that is just limited to a certain specialty, a certain life, and once we're there we're happy, we settle in, we don't keep on going? Is it possible that we lack that perspective? And that is because, frankly speaking, AKU alumni it's immensely strong, and that is an amazing strength of theirs, and I applaud them for having made it that way. Because American College of Surgeons की Clinical Congress के मेरे experiences हैं, courtesy of my time at AKU, एक ही table पे बैठे हुए होते हैं from a research like not even a student, from just a medical student who might be gone there, to all the way to the chair and dean and everyone in the middle, resident, fellow, attending, and they're talking about ideas, they're talking about pathways, plans, opportunities. And that is sort of the silent education and training and exposure that we get as a junior person. कि जी यार ये भी जिंदगी में possible है. We can be somewhere. We can go to places beyond the scope of our clinical practice. So when I say कि जी ये करना, where you see yourself in 10 years, then I would ask you guys to sort of broaden your perspective, to not just limit it to a specialty or a lifestyle. And if that is something you want, of course, as I said, one size does not fit everyone. For those of you who might have any inclination or things towards it, so that will be my request to you guys. And as an example, I was just going through my document. This was my 10-year plan. जितनी मैंने बातें की हैं, I did not include them in here. Because like you guys, I was also pursuing a specialty and training. And that was my 10-year plan back then. 3:15 बजे रात 9th January 2011 मैंने graph किया था. So, questions if you guys have any. Okay, consistency, coaching community.
Okay, guys, start writing your questions if you have any.
Or we can just do it at the end.
Yes, we can do that.
Chale, end pe karte hain. Okay, let's keep going. So let's now talk about the specific goals. Pehla sawal, and let's just address that. Shadi and family. So bhai, and that is a part of life, and I want to bring this up because it's part of who we are and the lives that we live, and we cannot separate the two. And a lot of us may be made to make our plans adjusted based on that. शादी ये आपकी और आपकी अम्मी की सलाहियतों पर डिपेंड करती है, लेकिन टाइमिंग में आपका मेजर से है, definitely. What I would ask you guys to do is to take this decision very, very, very seriously and make it wisely. And ideally, it should complement your overall plan. But again, that is just my perspective. People can have different perspectives, and I respect all of that. And of course, but that is something that you should take into account. And it's a very complicated, broad aspect. It has multiple facets for all of us. It has a different dimension to all of us. But my only request to you guys will be कि ना जल्दी करनी है ना देर करनी है. बहुत जल्दी कर दी तो अपने प्लान्स को मैच्योर नहीं होने दिया तो then the both can clash. बहुत देर कर दी तो ट्रेन निकल भी सकती है. फिर वो that I've seen as well कि लोग पे स्ट्रगल करते हैं शादी होने में. So that is important. Family, super important. We live in a society, and rightly so, हमें अपने पेरेंट्स का ख्याल रखना होता है. Include that in your plan if that is something that you want to and your parents depend on you. Because I wouldn't recommend, and that is again my perspective, I wouldn't recommend compromising your family, and having them on board and behind you and with you is so helpful. Like, because yahan par aate hain, you are all alone and in the middle of nowhere. You are surrounded by strangers, and this might be a selfish reason to say that, but you're working your head off, you're stressed, you're struggling. So who's going to comfort you? Your family. They stand by your side. They and you can talk to them. So this is not the reason that I want you to give attention to your family, but then money is so important. But money is important, essential. And before having this come here, मैंने जरा थोड़ी सी तहकीक की कि जी पाकिस्तान में आजकल पैसे के क्या हालात चल रहे हैं. So I don't know the expenditure situation right now. I have an idea कि बहुत मुश्किल हालात हो चुके हैं, of course, for all the reasons that we all are aware of. How much money is any freshly trained person is able to make, depending on the subspecialty, is what I got to know. अगर तो आपने independent or the specialty, अगर आपने surgery की हुई है किसी भी form की, तो the maximum that you can start off is by, I can throw out a number, 500,000 rupees per month. and you stay there for a little while. The maximum you can start off in medicine, if it's just internal medicine, depending on the subspecialty, because, and this is coming from Komal Baloch, that depending on the subspecialty you're going into, it may range from somewhere from 2.5 lakh to 6 lakh. And that depends on so many factors. The problem is that Pakistan mein, financial situation is very challenging for not just doctors, for hospitals, for people, for patients, for health systems. Job opportunities are, and when we say Pakistan, we often limit ourselves to the big cities, Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Quetta, Peshawar ko bhi log count nahi karte. Because anywhere beyond these, I don't know, I haven't lived in those places, like mere in-laws rehte hain, like Gujranwala, bade shahar hain Punjab mein. I believe you can have a great quality of life there, but for some of us, it is not an option. So, which does not apply to the US. US may you get paid, your initial income is more than what you start as a first-year resident, is more than what you make as a fresh attending right out of residency. Fact, the quality of life is better. And I am saying that because I've lived that life. You make more money, and once you're through your training, the job market, given the financial stability that exists in the US, is so much different and vast. US is not one country, is 50 states grouped together into one country. It is a continent. And given that it's a well-developed place, it's a developed country, they have resources that exist at a very great baseline across the country, generally speaking. Of course, exceptions exist. But if you follow your attending clinical life, you are able to make a great living, even in the tiniest of the tiniest towns in the middle of nowhere. I was just talking to a medical oncologist who was practicing his medical oncology to the best quality Dow graduate for 15 years in 3 small towns, जिसकी population है 10,000, 15,000 और 20,000 लोगों की, in the middle of East Texas, जिसका नाम भी नहीं पता, that is surrounded by huge farms and stuff, and he's making, of course, a great lifestyle. He owns everything that you can imagine, living in that environment. So those are the specific. I'm not saying one is better than the other. For some people, 500 lakh, 600 lakh is more than enough. I'm just sharing with you what the fact that I got to know. Academic or professional excellence. Pakistan, if you can do that, but there are the options, you all probably have an impression, are limited. The opportunities are limited. Because as you can imagine, if everyone is struggling to meet ends meet and just trying to achieve and maintain a certain quality of life, then real academic excellence or professional excellence का time नहीं होता. Time इतना ही होता है कि you develop a practice and maintain that living reality of life. Again, this is a generalization and exceptions do exist, and I know a lot of people, especially in pediatrics, who have done great work and are exceeding boundaries and creating doing amazing work. But हम जो बात कर रहे हैं general populations की, but you never know, you can be possibly the exception. But this is me saying there that if you haven't gone, if your experiences are limited to whatever is available in Pakistan, then achieving academic and professional excellence, and of course we haven't gone into depth of what that potentially can mean for different people, but generally speaking, I think it is challenging. In the US, there are more opportunities, but again, that would depend on your specific journey, what your credentials have, the way your credentials have developed over the period of years, right, starting off from your medical school, going through your house, going through your training in residency and then in fellowship, and then beyond that. If you have been limited to clinical work, then going into an academic practice is less likely. If you have, but you can still be very excellent in your work, you can maintain, because the thing is, resources hai, patients have the resources. I have seen very senior surgeons learning and adopting more skills, like for example, robotic skill. It's not a new skill. It just got introduced in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And people are adopting, like the senior most people are still learning and including that in their armamentum or the things that they can do. Which does not apply to Pakistan. It takes more time because adopting and any new technology or new practice or new skill requires expenditure of time, mind and money, जो कि ज़्यादा limited है. यहाँ पर ज़्यादा available है. I've seen the same in private practice. It's not just here. I've seen private practice groups develop in that way because again, that develops and dictates money. So we've already touched some of the challenges that exist in Pakistan based on our prior 2 slides. And I think the biggest thing that I will just reiterate is GK. Pakistan ke challenges, we need to understand them. I'm not going to criticize them, but we need to understand why they exist in terms of the opportunities we have as healthcare providers. And it has to do a lot with money. It has to do with a lot of financial stability coming out of, and that dictates the opportunities. Pakistan में चूंकि हमारी financial stability कमजोर है, तो हमारे hospitals इतने expand नहीं करते. हमारा बड़े शहरों तक ही हम लिमिटेड है. छोटे शहरों में वो एक्सपेंशन उस तरीके से नहीं पहुंची जिस तरीके से शायद बड़े शहरों में पहुंची हुई है, और बड़े शहरों में भी उस लेवल पे नहीं है कि जिस लेवल पे होनी चाहिए in terms of the services that are being provided, the quality, वगैरह वगैरह, because a lot of that comes down to money. And then same applies for your opportunities. If you're coming on to the job market with a very unique set of skills, then everyone sees you as a threat, potentially. Not everyone, many. Again, I'm making generalizations here. I might get into trouble. And the threat is not to themselves, it's to their bread and butter. Who's seeing you as a threat? The people who are preceding you. Because the job market is, that's the reality of life. Har ek ko, they need to develop themselves and maintain a quality of life for not just themselves, for their families. So roti kapda makan to maintain karna hai na logon ko. So you are perceived as a threat. And that sort of really limits compared to the US, because the opportunities here are so many. People are not insecure about their own positions, and because they have the time to constantly develop and progress themselves, they are already there. So they're not, don't feel threatened. So you get so different type of a support in the US for whatever you want to do. You get mentorship, you get letters, you get really help to get somewhere, like real mentorship, because no one is insecure. In fact, they would take pride in your success compared to other places where they might feel threatened from your success. Challenges US ke bahut hai. And one major challenge is that you are, depending on the type of practice, the life you live here, it's an adjustment. It's a social, culture, religious adjustment in some shape or form for everyone. That, and at times it may require that you let go of things that were near and dear to you, that were considered taken for granted in Pakistan. Those are the realities that we should be aware of. And when you have a family, you are always concerned that what type of a person your family is going to develop. When you have children, what are they going to develop, and what are the lives that they're going to have? And of course, it's a huge topic that we can spend an hour talking about, or many hours. But there are challenges that exist even in the US pathway. So it's not all rosy here. Sahi hai, paisa zabardast hai, opportunities bahut sari hain, but that's not the only thing. यहाँ पर physician burnout is real. Residency attrition rate बहुत है. Stress एक level पे exist करता है. जब competition इतना severe होता है, then you're really working hard. And for those, of course, we're not all the same. And there will be people who will not be able to keep up to that competition, and they will sort of get tired and get depressed, and all of those things are possible. So US pathway has challenges. Okay. So why is the US pathway difficult? And I think let me go beyond this because we're exceeding time. So we shall not go into this poll, I believe so. I just wanted to share my thoughts on why I think the US pathway is difficult, and that has to do a lot with who we are and who we're competing against. On the left side of this slide is sort of my journey that I already shared with you guys, and I'm going to go in more detail with that. कि मैंने स्कूलिंग की, आदम जी गया, डाउ किया, सिविल अस्पताल किया, और ग्रेजुएशन की मैंने आसान से पिक किया हुआ है. But that is someone who's like you in your stage who wants to pursue a training after graduation. On the right side are my peers and my competitors here, my peers who are potentially my competitors, who go through the American system of education, elementary school, middle school, high school. Then they are made to go through, get an undergraduate degree, which is an engineering degree, bachelor's of engineering or bachelor's of in anything, in microbiology, in a bachelor degree before they are eligible to. A lot of them do masters and PhDs before they apply into medical school. US में education बहुत expensive है. Right off from the beginning, public schools bhi hain, yahan pe private schools bhi hain. Private schools are more expensive, but then they provide a different quality of education. If you want to pursue that, and a lot of people are able to, then you get educated in a much superior manner. You go to the undergraduate process. Abhi aap log wahan pe nahi hai. Matlab kuch nahi hai. Like right out of high school, which is equivalent to A levels or intermediate here, log undergraduate karte hain from some of the most reputable places who want to become doctors. I good my good colleague Dr. Mason Nimmer, she did her undergraduate and medical school education from Johns Hopkins. Those are the people who are your peers. Those are the people who you're competing against or with. So सवाल मेरा आपसे ये है कि we are product of a system and we have colleagues and peers who are a product of a system. So अगर आप किसी को इस वाले पाथवे के बंदे को आप सिविल अस्पताल में लाके खड़ा कर दें और कहें कि नाउ प्रैक्टिस सर्जरी, नाउ प्रैक्टिस मेडिसिन, तो वो बंदा तो पहले ही एक दिन में फारिग हो जाए. Because they're just not used to it. They're coming from a totally different environment and being educated at a very, very different level. And that same applies to us. हम जिस प्रोसेस के थ्रू निकलते हैं और फिर हम जाते हैं अमेरिका. हमारी क्लिनिकल ट्रेनिंग एंड एजुकेशन हुई है सिविल अस्पताल में, और फिर आ गए हम अमेरिका, और यहाँ पर हम compete कर रहे हैं इस वाले कैटेगरी के लोगों के साथ. We struggle. And that is a fact of life. We struggle in every possible manner. Interpersonal skills has so much to do with our success here that no one talks about. Like अंग्रेजी की quality, interaction, वगैरह वगैरह. All of those things, they are so important. पिछली वाली चीज में मैंने soft skills पे जब बात हो रही थी तो I skipped out the appearance part. That is so important. हमारा impression, यहाँ पर सारी game impressions की है. Everyone is judging you, and that applies to every place actually, but it is more so here. People create impressions of you even before they talk to you. How you appear has so much to do, and that is what I would ask of you guys, because हम नहीं कर रहे थे. मैंने आपको अपनी डाउ मेडिकल कॉलेज की तस्वीर शेयर करी. आप बनियान में जाएं, आप टी-शर्ट में जाएं, हॉस्पिटल में, as long as you're wearing a white coat outside, जिंदगी खैर है, कोई नहीं. That's acceptable there, and not criticizing that, but that doesn't work here. There are certain different levels of expectations of how we appear. मुंह धुलवा होना चाहिए. If you want to maintain a beard, maintain a beard. If you don't want to maintain a beard, then don't have one. साफ सुथरे कपड़े, like that, all of that matters, and that sort of plays into the in this slide. If we don't realize that, if you're not cognizant of that, then हम इस environment से निकल के आके यहाँ पे पहुंच जाते हैं, and if you're living the same life, that's where we struggle. So know that this life exists and try to adopt it now if that is something that you're pursuing. For those who want to go to US, सिविल अस्पताल में ट्रेनिंग करनी है तो you follow that path. So is every specialty the same in the US? Not really. And I can share this slide with you. Why are certain specialties and getting those trainings in US more difficult? And I think this can give you some idea. The topmost one here is internal medicine. The dark blue bar is the positions offered, and the green smaller bar is the number of positions that are filled by MD seniors. MD seniors कौन है? American medical graduate. So as you can see, the number of positions for internal medicine only categorical is 10,178, and American जो match करता है उसमें 3,800 करता है. This is the biggest डोमेन जहाँ पे हमारा बंदा पाकिस्तानी या पूरी दुनिया से लोग मैच करते हैं. And there are similar stats for everything. And when you come to the real difficult ones, 1,670 surgery categorical positions, 1,062 American people matched in that. Dermatology, 544 positions offered in the entire country, 405. Plastic surgery, 207, 191 people. So कितने रह गए हम लोगों के लिए बहुत कम. Same with our interventional radiology. Orthopedic surgery, 899 matches, 690. Same with neurology. This is where a lot of us go into who want to pursue surgery. Surgery preliminary spot, which is a one-year deal. 1,100 spots, 246 American medical graduates match here. Because they get absorbed in the categorical or one of these other surgery spots. They get matched to categoricals more. So why are certain specialties more available? Because it has to do with the number of spots and with your competition. That American medical graduate wala competition wali jo theory hai, that may be less applicable to internal medicine because you may be in a program that may be purely of IMGs, and there are many out there. Why are certain specialties more? Why are some people more after certain specialties? It has to do a lot with money. This is on Medscape, average annual compensation by specialty for anyone. Plastic surgery, orthopedic surgery, ये शुरू के आप लगा लें यहाँ तक ये जो surgery critical care है. This is sort of half, this entire half is different from this bottom half. And this is sort of an average, and variations of this exist a lot compared to this bottom half, internal medicine, medicine ki subspecialties. Hence the differential that exists between surgery application and a career, or cardiology or urology or gastroenterology career versus any of these that are at the bottom. So American wala banda, they're spending hundreds and millions of thousands of rupees. हमने जो दिन की fees दी है, यहाँ पे जो American medical graduate जब graduate करके आता है, he's indebted by hundreds and thousands of dollars, and they need to pay that off, and they want to go into specialties that can help them do it as fast as possible. A lot of people are talking to you already about this, so I'm not going to go in a lot of detail. क्या है जी? What is simple formula है, सबको पता है. Exams करने हैं जबरदस्त तरीके से. I cannot stress enough on this part for all the other reasons that we have already discussed. You have to get US clinical experience to broaden your perspective. You have to come out of that kuan. You have to be that mendak who can hop out of that kuan, and this is what allows you to do that. You get clinical experience, you get the perspective, you understand how life exists here, you develop a sense of the interpersonal skills, and if you're cognizant, you constantly learn. You get the relevant LORs. And why do you need that? Because यहाँ पर program director उस process का है. किस वाले process का product है? इस वाले process का product है. It is easier for a program director, generally speaking. There are many program directors who are IMGs now, but most of the program directors or chairs of the departments, they are a part of this process. It is easier for them to understandably trust an applicant who is coming out of this pathway compared to us. उनको ना आदमजी गवर्नमेंट साइंस कॉलेज का पता है, ना उनको डाउन मेडिकल कॉलेज का पता है, उनको कुछ, और for rightly so, we are a product of different system. If they trust us blindly, तो फिर तो उनकी गेम खराब हो जाएगी. And especially specialties that require a longer period of training, like surgery, it is a major undertaking. Hence, the likelihood of going into those specialties is less. Research, super important. Research opportunities. आप लोग वहाँ पर आजकल माशाल्लाह से, I'm seeing that there are, like, you guys are really making the most of what is available to you. The biggest hurdle is data. I know civil hospital, or I hope things are getting better now and they're more uniform and standardized and high quality ways of collecting data. But I know that's a struggle that all of you are going through, and we can talk about that at some point later. And application close to graduation. A good friend of ours did ask that question. It is important. You need to balance that. The more important thing is for a program director, what this does to your application is that it makes it get filtered out. कि जी वो review नहीं होगी. then you have to get the people to review your application through your contacts, the people who you've done with your rotations and electives or observerships with, the people who you're writing your LORs. They reach out to people on your behalf and they help you to get your applications reviewed. Once you get that interview, then the question is less about your graduation data and more about what you were doing since your graduation. If you were spending your entire, my graduation date was 2012. I applied for residency here in 2019. Did anyone ask me, yeah, you are yes, my application did get filtered by everyone. All the interviews that I got were pulled, not except for the second year where I did get 2 interviews without getting pulled, which is after I got the US experience for my preliminary year. But other than that, no one asked me, yeah, you are an old graduate, but they did ask me, how will you adjust in your life? Because my CV was full of stuff in terms of what I was doing from the time I graduated to the time I was applying. So if your CV, and of course, research is important. If you're spending time doing research, excellent, because again, that gives you a lot of exposure, experience, interpersonal skills, know-how of how to manage and live the American way of working here. But beyond a certain time period, I don't have an exact number for it, but I would just roughly put out 3 years, because then you're further away from your clinical time. And then it sort of becomes more difficult for people to trust you as a good clinician, because 3 साल गुजर गए हैं, आपने clinical life ही नहीं की रही है. 1-2 साल ideal time होता है research का, अगर आप research pursue कर रहे हैं. उसके बाद it may start hurting your application, because you will become a graduate who is away from residency, and then you are an old graduate and you have not been in clinical practice. Was that applicable to my scenario? No, because I was doing clinical work and I was doing research together from my experiences at AKU. So I did not encounter that same problem, but I know a lot of people who had that problem, who did spend so many years doing research, and their application became a problem because it sort of becomes, because now you have a huge research profile where you published 10s and 20s and hundreds of papers. So Chota program will be sort of hesitant in looking at you, but then you are further away from your graduation area and you're a foreign medical graduate. So Bada program will also be hesitant taking you. So you're sort of stuck in the middle. So you need to find the sweet spot in terms of the number of years that you want to spend doing research. Can I get residency in the US after training in Pakistan? I'm sitting in front of you. Yes, there are various pathways. Is it easy? Is it a piece of cake? Absolutely no. Do I recommend that for everyone? No. Is it something for people who think that going upfront residency might be not the ideal situation for them? Sure. Will it remain an option 5 years from now? I don't know. Things are evolving here. They're opening up more pathways. But as of right now, I can say yes to this question. I know many people before me who have gone, my attendings here. Like I know Dr. Patricia Polanco, he had the same journey. A lot of people from, it's not just me, it's a lot of people that I've come across who had that same pathway, where they did residency and then they came here. We can go into more detail if anyone has more questions about that. Again, this has to do with the type of goals and perspectives that I just alluded to already. कि आपने training कर ली, आपने fellowship कर ली, फिर आपने practice करनी है. What type of a practice are you going to do? Are you going to do community? No, this question is different. Is every program the same or not? That's not. They are same at the baseline level of ACGME expectations. There are regulatory bodies here. Pakistan mein, it's a CPSP, and it's the place where you're doing your training. Civil Hospital or Dow University for Civil Hospital, Khan for Khan. Those 2 institutes. There are 3 bodies. It's the board, the specialty board, which can be surgery or which can be medicine. And every board has their own exam, their own set of requirements that they want the resident to fulfill. It's the ACGME that is the body that controls and regulates all the programs, and that set the standards for people to for the programs to maintain, and they're pretty strict about it. Unlike, unfortunately, in Pakistan, and talking about differences between the 2 countries, Pakistani standards exist. Are they the best? I don't think so, but that's my perspective. Do they get implemented the way they should be? They were not when I was there, and that's a problem. That sort of creates a lot of variability of in terms of training that you get, either at AKU or Civil Hospital Karachi or Jinnah or any other institute or in Larkana. That does not apply to ACGME because they are pretty strict about maintaining standards at a certain baseline, and that makes most programs same at the baseline. But beyond that, they're different. The quality of training that you get from any program will be different, and that sort of dictates into what subspecialty you will go into in terms of fellowship. Again, the subspecialties are most competitive: cardiology, gastroenterology, in rheumatology, in let's say in surgery, it's surgical oncology and pediatric surgery, or urology or plastic surgery. You need to have a residency from a great or good program, क्योंकि यहाँ पे prestige, because your competitors are coming from those programs. They're doing research, they're doing all of those things to get there. So, are the opportunities after residency in the US the same? Not really. Again, depends on types of fellowships, and I've already talked about this in terms of the differences of AQ alumni versus DAO alumni. Depends on your fellowships, where you're doing from, depends on your residency, depends on your credentials that you've developed and your over the years. And that sort of dictates what type of a practice you will have: private versus academic, community hospital versus university based, and the job market for that specific subspecialty. Surgical oncology की बात करें, university hospitals में pure HPV jobs, or they can be counted in under 10 every year. Graduates are far more. So most people end up practicing a combination of general surgery with some form of surgical oncology. Many of them go into academic, non-academic careers and go into community practice. That's the reality of life. So research, they did a training from great hospitals, they did a training from great university programs, both residency and fellowship. They did years of research, and they still end up practicing in a community hospital. Reality of life. Why? Because the job market is not that kitschy. There are jobs available, and that is also something that needs to be taken into practice. And that's all something that I'm talking about in terms of residency, in terms of surgery. But agar aap medicine ki baat kare, to hospitalist, I don't know how many of you have heard the term of hospitalist. That is a common pathway of a lot of graduates from both from AQ and from DAO, and a lot for people from DAO take, which is what you do 300 years of internal medicine, and then you start practicing. You practice in a hospital where you admit patients and you coordinate their care. You coordinate with with all the other specialties. You write their notes, you do their orders, you facilitate the care for that patient, and you send that patient away. And which is sort of an equivalent to, not equivalent because an attending who's a hospital is an independent attending. As a medical officer in Pakistan or as an SMO, you're working under an attending and other people around on the patient. But here, that's different. So is that something that you want for yourself? That is one of the pathways that many people get after completing their US training and residency. So that's the last question I have. After all of this, have you reached your goal and success? I don't know. Time will tell. That is everything that I have for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. This was a wonderful session to such an extent. Even my family members came and sat down with me to listen in. So yeah. Even when if I talk about myself, I research a lot before going into medicine, and USA was a no-go for me. Like, I didn't want to pursue USA ka path because I thought there were not many specialties for us. But you telling your perspective has lightened that a bit, that there can be chances for people like us who can think of not going there because of the specialties, especially the paths that they provide. So guys, we'll be taking questions now. If you want to ask something, please write that on that box.
Okay, Javeria Shafiq pushing, which is you, of course. You spend according to that particular country, so that doesn't equalize it in terms of money. Great question. A lot of people ask that question. Sahi baat. But the question is, when you're spending that, then you're maintaining a certain quality of life. So your quality of life is different from, like, if you end up not saving in both places, the quality of life you're able to maintain in the US is a lot different than other places. UAE की तो हमने शारजा की तो बात भी नहीं की है, वो उसकी भी तहकीक की हुई थी, but that is true. And again, if you end up saving $100, then पाकिस्तानी रुपयों में तो वो 2.5 लाख रुपए हैं हर महीने के.
But if we're
ढाई लाख.
spending it in United States now, तो फिर in my head it equalizes it, because United States में everything is private, and $100 doesn't get you a lot too far away, but if it's not much money, I guess.
Excellent point again. $100 is enough for you to, like, if you're supporting your family, and if you want to send money abroad, then sending $200, $300, $400 is good. But that's an excellent question. 5 साल की training में you won't be having a house of your own. या 3 साल की training में, where you will be earning somewhere around $58,000 to $70,000 a month. But as soon as you cross that barrier of and transition from being a trainee to being an independent attending, you change your salary bracket to a whole different level. जिस तरह मैंने बताया कि $200,000 base annual income होती है for any attending, $2.5 लाख, which is कितने 5-6 करोड़ रुपए, something like that. Okay, so in that context, you still spend, but you can start saving a lot of money. You're right. There's no upper limit to expenditure in the US. आप इतना सर्च कर दें कि $25 लाख भी आपको कम पड़ेंगे and you'll be in a debt. But आप जरा considerable इंसानों की तरह जिंदगी गुजार लें तो फिर पैसों की बचत भी हो सकती है.
Okay. There are a few questions in the chat box if you want to see.
Do people come back to Pakistan after training? Excellent question, Ji. Again, the challenges that exist for a fresh trainee or any attending in Pakistan are still there. People do come, especially आपके सामने ही हैं, क्योंकि बहुत सारे attendings हैं, and I can name them जिन्होंने अमेरिका से ट्रेनिंग की है, both in surgery, both in medicine, internal medicine, endocrinology, ID, general surgery, जो कि practice कर रहे हैं. But that's a small proportion of the bigger population of people who come here. So I'm not going to paint a rosy picture for that. And the reason is कि एक तो आपको financial stability नहीं मिलती, दूसरी आपको फिर academic क्या कहते हैं satisfaction नहीं मिलती, और आपको professional academic तो छोड़ें, professional satisfaction नहीं मिलती, और आपको work environment hostile मिलता है. तो अगर आपको पैसे भी ना मिल रहे हो और आपके पीछे सब पड़े हुए हो आपको फेल करने के लिए, तो फिर बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है लोगों के लिए वापस जाना. अगर तो people have the capacity in them कि थोड़ा जी आगे पीछे कर ले तो फिर वो हो सकता है. Can we get a match without prior US clinical experience? Great question. Depends on your overall application. Your scores. I know step 1 doesn't have a score, but CK does have a score. What it is, if you're scoring at the 280 level, if you have published a lot of papers or good papers in Pakistan, then yeah, but realize KG, as I already talked about, why is it difficult for people and why do they see, why everyone recommends going for a clinical observership or experience, and why is it important? Because it's easier for them to trust that LOR, that recommendation for someone who's in the US compared to Dean of Dow University. So I don't know the exact answer, but maybe is what I can say. Any specific certification or additional qualifications I can pursue being an undergrad that can enhance my CV? Great question, and I think that also depends on and I think I did not touch that here. People who have resources, they get enrolled in public health degrees, masters in public health. Getting into those is possible. So for people who have the resources, जिनके पास पैसे हैं, जिनके डैडी के पास पैसे हैं, वो जरूर उस ऑप्शन को opt करें. And getting into those, I have the impression, I know people who have gone into them, so I can say it is possible for sure. So definitely, those are the options. Masters in public health, masters in clinical research. A lot of US programs offer those. Abroad, especially for surgical specialties. Are they okay? Mariana, availability of training and non-training jobs abroad, especially for surgical specialties. question that would depend on what abroad means. It doesn't mean the US. So what मैंने आपसे बात की कि जी, the US has a job market that is enough for you to find a job eventually. If whatever you do, you will find a good job, decent job if you're US trained. If abroad means the Middle East, which is a huge job market in its own self, क्योंकि वहाँ पर आपको अच्छे पैसे मिल जाते हैं. So they don't take Pakistani FCPS as an attending. They will make you a specialist and you can earn a good money, but you will not be given the title of a consultant or independent attending. They only accept American, US, UK, Australian degrees and training. Is doing residency US better than in Canada? I have very limited experience of Canada, but I have seen Canadians come to the US for training. The fact is that and honestly, in many ways, US and Canada go bhai, even though they're different. So there may be some comparability between the two. But if you get an opportunity in Canada, then it's a totally different pathway. Again, US every program is not the same. There will be programs in the US, okay, in terms of their training, may be inferior to Aga Khan Hospital here in Pakistan. Fact. So if you're getting trained there, then of course Canada is better. But if you're getting trained at the premier top 10 institute, then no. As I said, US is a continent. It's not. It's 50 states grouped together. What are the possibilities, opportunities after passing steps other than applying for a match in the US? Okay, we already know about the research opportunities. वो तो बहुत ज़्यादा नेटवर्किंग करने के बाद और अपनी प्रोफाइल डेवलप करने के बाद, बहुत सारे लोगों को ईमेल करने के बाद, बहुत सारी वेबसाइट्स को खंगालने के बाद मिलती हैं. इसके अलावा I know people who are doing other jobs, like I know this one person जो कि medical scribe की काम कर रहे हैं. The thing is कि you can do those jobs, or do you have a visa, a working visa to do those jobs? That is a question. So research इसलिए लोग आसानी से कर पाते हैं because research, J1 research scholar is a visa that you can get and work there. I know the one person who's doing a medical documentation job is doing that because she doesn't need a visa. She already has a working visa there. Can one get into hospital management role in the US after MBBS, after Pakistan, for example, doing something like MBBA from the US? What is the scope and opportunities? I asked this question from Dr. Shahid Shafi, and he is the CEO. He was the CEO of Aga Khan University, and he is also based in Dallas. And he's an AKU alumni of part of the first he has graduated, and he was an attending at UT Southwestern as well. And when Pakistan में उनसे मिला था, and MBA भी as a degree यहाँ पर भर के लोग कर रहे हैं. So यहाँ पर MBAs की जो jobs हैं, managerial post होती हैं जो कि बहुत available हैं. I haven't specifically looked into those, but I can tell you कि it's not sort of a very unique pathway. I can tell you जी के job market US की बेहतर है compared to what is available abroad. So यहाँ पे opportunities ज़्यादा होती हैं if you have completed training from the US. मरियम राना कह रही हैं, what I mean, jobs for surgical strategy. Yes, job in training specialties. We are training and non-training jobs abroad, especially for surgical specialties. I hope I have answered that question in terms of what you are able to. If you are asking about jobs that are one can have before you complete your training, that I cannot really comment on. क्योंकि वो मुझे मतलब I know कि कुछ medical officer की jobs हैं जो शायद New York वाला में, but they're very rare. But I did try to answer the question of the job market in terms of what you're able to do after you have completed your training in the US. Sheikh Mubin, why people prefer US residency and training from UK? Is there anything bigger between both countries than UK? Great question. I don't know the UK pathway that much क्योंकि मुझे पाकिस्तान का तो इसलिए पता है कि मैंने पाकिस्तान के थ्रू किया हुआ है. So this answer will be based on my perspective and from talking to people. UK pathway has a lot of non-standardizations to it. Like it is there are a lot of variables that come into play when you are pursuing that pathway. You have to develop your contacts. There is no centralized application process in the UK for the entire country. In the US, you have that centralized application process where not only you, everyone else who is also even an American is going through the same process. That does not apply to the UK. You are treated differently. You have to do different things from the UK. In terms of the quality of training, again, my impression, I don't know, honestly, is that as non-standardization exists, I think जो उनकी examination bodies हैं, उनके तो standardized exams होंगे, but in terms, I've heard a lot कि जी वो जो आपका trainer है, जो supervisor है, उस पर बहुत depend करता है कि आपको किस quality की training मिल रही है, compared to the US pathway where there is a sort of a baseline कि जी इसको क्या करना है. Which is created by the ACGME, which is created by the American board. एक दफा आपके पास American board की डिग्री आ गई तो आपकी जॉब मार्केट पूरी दुनिया में खुल जाती है, बिकॉज आपके पर एक नाम लग गया. इवन आपने अगर वो इंटरनल मेडिसिन की डिग्री हासिल की हो, लेट्स से फ्रॉम अ स्मॉल कम्युनिटी हॉस्पिटल इन द मिडल ऑफ नोवेयर वर्सेस वन ऑफ द आईवी लीग इंस्टीट्यूट्स, बट अगर आपके पास लग गया है तो आपकी जॉब मार्केट डिफरेंट हो जाएगी. How middle or low income middle class graduates manage the expenses of going through USMLE pathway? Any specific suggestions? How to manage the cost if there is no backward support? Excellent question. I was in that situation myself. As I said, कि मेरे पास पैसे नहीं थे, मेरे पास और मेरे कुछ personal home family commitments थी, तो इसलिए मैंने नहीं pursue किया. तो मैंने क्या किया? If you know that आप अगर second year में, third year में, fourth year में, तो then you need to hustle and you need to make money. Now it varies. अगर तो आपकी फैमिली आप पे डिपेंड कर रही है एंड दैट यू आर द सोल अर्नर फॉर योर फैमिली, देन ऑनेस्टली ब्रदर दैट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट. आई कैन नॉट से गिव यू अ सिंपल सॉल्यूशन. बट बहुत सारे लोग हमारे में से ऐसे हैं कि जिनके पास दर मिडिल क्लास में है, लेकिन इनकी फैमिली पे डिपेंड नहीं कर रही हैं, लेकिन दे कैन स्टिल मेक इनफ मनी दैट कैन अलाउ देम टू सॉर्ट ऑफ live their life on their own and save money for future. That was my process. I saved money from my house job. सही है, हमारे जमाने में $270 का नहीं था, अब हो चुका है, which is a huge problem, and I understand that perspective. So you try to save money from if you really don't have money. That's why people try to go into research jobs. कि जी research jobs से पैसे बना लें and then फिर apply करें. And that is of course a huge advantage. The other thing is that you can do what I did, which is do a residency in Pakistan, make money and then go abroad. I know मेरी कल बहन से बात हो रही थी जो कि UAE में based है. Some people have even longer processes. उन्होंने 2 साल 3 साल पाकिस्तान में गुजारे, पैसे जमा नहीं हुए, लेकिन उसके बेसिस पे वो चले गए मिडिल ईस्ट, वहां पे मेडिकल ऑफिसर बने, वहां से उनको पैसे मिलने लगे बेहतर. उन्होंने इतनी सेविंग्स कर ली कि फिर उन्होंने अप्लाई किया USMLE के लिए, वो फिर उन्होंने एग्जाम्स निकाले एंड देन दे वेंट टू द US. So अल्लाह ताला रास्ते बना देते हैं जी.
That's some dedication.
देखिए the point is, मेरा I graduated 2023 चल रहा है इस वक्त, 11 साल हो गए मुझे ट्रेनिंग को, और मेरी ट्रेनिंग नहीं पूरी हो रही, मतलब चली जा रही है. दुनिया कह रही है कि भाई बस कर जाओ, लेकिन मैं कह रहा हूँ नहीं, मैंने अभी दोबारा से रिसर्च की पॉज ले ली है. मैंने कहा नहीं, मैंने तो और करनी. तो भाई as long as you're moving towards your goal, you are able to maintain your quality of life, you're able to support your family. पाकिस्तान में जल्दी इसलिए होती है कि हमें पता है कि हमने पैसे कमाने और अटेंडिंग बने बगैर पैसे नहीं मिलने, रेजिडेंट को पैसे नहीं मिलते. मैं यहाँ पर मेरी रेजिडेंसी में तनख्वाह इज मोर देन व्हाट अ पाकिस्तानी अटेंडिंग अर्न्स. आई एम एबल टू अफोर्ड अ कार, आई एम एबल टू अफोर्ड मेनी थिंग्स दैट आई कैन नॉट फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान. तो बस अल्लाह का शुक्र है. सही है, अगर आप एक पॉइंट पे तो अल्लाह का शुक्र अदा करना पड़ता है ना. सही है, तो हर वक्त करना चाहिए, लेकिन एक पॉइंट पे कर ही लेना चाहिए, बहुत हो गया. तो एनीहाउ, but yes, that is one pathway of saving money. पाकिस्तान में टाइम लगाएं, मिडिल ईस्ट में टाइम लगाएं, फिर आगे चले जाएं. Should we work on doing extra electives in Pakistan when pursuing for US? Any experience is better than no experience. So अगर US के रास्ते नहीं खुल रहे तो हाथ पे हाथ डाल के बैठने का तो कोई फायदा नहीं. I know आप हमारे डाव के ग्रेजुएट हैं, एक अभी रिसेंटली उनका प्रीलिमिनरी सर्जरी में मैच हुआ है. She was spending her, उन्होंने हाउस जॉब करी and then she was doing research at AKU. और ATU में रहते हुए देन शी डेवलप्ड हर प्रोफाइल, और फिर उसके बाद यहाँ पे US में आकर ऑब्जर्वरशिप्स करी उन्होंने, और that really developed. So honestly, वो कुएं की मेंढक वाली बात है. If you have had zero experience and you are unable to go to the US, try doing them at other premier institutes. शौकत खाना में जाके देखें क्या हालात हैं. I think it's great. वहाँ पे अमेरिकन बोर्ड डिप्लोमेट्स काम करते हैं, अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं. शिफा इंटरनेशनल जहाँ पे लिवर ट्रांसप्लांट हो रहा है, वहाँ पे हेपेटोलॉजी प्रैक्टिस हो रही होगी, वो जाके देखें. आगा खान जाके देखें. ये पाकिस्तान में भी रिसोर्सेज हैं. Go beyond your scope of what you are exposed to from civil अस्पताल. So if you have not experience, तो घर में बैठने का फायदा नहीं है, आप बाहर निकलें. Do people go to Middle East after completing training residency in US? What are the advantages and disadvantages? मेरी mother-in-law है वहाँ पे, but she did her training from Ireland. Biggest advantage, it pays good money. Because शेखों के पास पैसा अच्छा है और वो देना चाहते हैं अमेरिकनों को और ऑस्ट्रेलियंस को और क्या कहते हैं यूके वालों. So that's second advantage. You get to live in an environment which for many will be more consistent with their value systems, their religious beliefs, their cultural values वगैरह वगैरह. So और पाकिस्तान 2 घंटे की फ्लाइट पे, तो आप सुबह जाएं पाकिस्तान, वापस शाम में वापस आ जाएं. You can do that if you can afford. तो बहुत से लोगों के लिए in that sense it gives you the opportunity of क्या कहते हैं making good money, living a life that is more consistent with your values, and then being close to Pakistan and your family in Pakistan. Disadvantages, जिन लोगों को एक certain type की professional goals या academic goals अगर for example achieve करने हैं, तो those opportunities may be different. क्योंकि जाहिर सी बात है मिडिल ईस्ट में आपको यूनिवर्सिटी हॉस्पिटल्स मिल जाएंगे, बट दे आर नॉट द सेम एज दोस एग्जिस्ट इन द यूएस. सो आईवी लीग यूनिवर्सिटीज अमेरिका में, आईवी लीग यूनिवर्सिटीज मिडिल ईस्ट में नहीं है, तो वो अपॉर्चुनिटीज कम होगी. आई हैव हर्ड कि जॉब सिक्योरिटी मैटर्स इन द मिडिल ईस्ट आर डिफरेंट. यू विल नेवर बिकम एन अरब. यू आर ऑलवेज सॉर्ट ऑफ टेकिंग टू बी अ नॉन अरब. सही है, गोल्डन वीजा मिल रहा है आजकल यूएई में, एंड आई डोंट नो हाउ दैट इम्पैक्ट्स इन द सिक्योरिटी दैट प्रोवाइड्स टू पीपल, बट आई हैव हर्ड ऑफ हॉरर स्टोरीज के जिसमें आपने किसी एक शख्स को नाराज कर दिया तो आप मुश्किल में फंस गए. बट दोज एग्जिस्ट, आई डोंट नो, बट दैट्स द अदर साइड. कुछ लोगों के लिए अमेरिकन लाइफ इज मोर द फ्रीडम्स दैट वी हैव. ऑनेस्टली मैं डैलस में रहता हूँ, पाकिस्तान दुनिया भर के तमाम ब्रांडेड मौलाना डैलस में पाए जाते हैं. शेख उमर सुलेमान, शेख यासिर काजी, गामदी साहब, जो जिनको बहुत से लोग रखते हैं, they're all in Dallas. If I want to become a better Muslim, I have so many opportunities in Dallas to be that Muslim while living the freedoms that are offered in the US environment. Because यहाँ पे आज़ादी है हर एक के लिए, मतलब literally हर एक के लिए. जो यूके में, जो के यूएई में और सऊदी अरब में नहीं है, तो कुछ लोगों को वो आज़ादी चाहिए होती है जो उनको वहाँ पे नहीं मिल रही होती है. तो इट्स अ पर्सनल क्वेश्चन, पर्सनल डिसीजन. ओके, पूरा हो गया. No more questions, I guess.
I guess that's about it. Thank you so very much for joining us. And आपने इतना लंबा सेशन लिया. It was a wonderful session.
नहीं जी, thank you so much for listening. 1 घंटे का करना था, ये पता नहीं 2 घंटे में हो गया. So thank you.
It was so wonderful. Thank you so much.
चलें,
Yes,
you can I will leave my WhatsApp number here, and I will also leave my email address here. So if you have any questions and concerns that you guys want to reach out to me for, please feel free to. I will try my best to reply at an appropriate time, but feel free to follow up if I don't.
There is one last question that I got in DM. That was, what pushed you to join PWA?
हाँ यार, जिस सवाल जरूरी है ना करना, PWA की पब्लिसिटी तो करने आए हैं. जबरदस्त भाई, वी फील वी सर्व, जिंदाबाद. ऑनेस्टली मेरे से पहले मेरे बड़े भाई शोएब भाई, ग्रेजुएट ऑफ 2006. मेरी बड़ी बहन अस्मा बाजी, ग्रेजुएट ऑफ 2008. वो दोनों PWA में थे. तो मैं तो 9th मैट्रिक में था कि मैंने पीडब्ल्यू के लिए काम करना शुरू कर दिया था, क्योंकि वो मेरे से हेल्प काम करवाते थे। जस्ट किडिंग। तो मुझे पता था जी कि पीडब्ल्यू डज ग्रेट वर्क एंड इट वाज सॉर्ट ऑफ कंसिस्टेंट विद मतलब लाइक गोइंग बियॉन्ड ऑफ व्हाट आई एम एंड गिविंग आउट टू पीपल। तो ये जो हमारी सोच है ये पीडब्ल्यू में ही मुझे हासिल हुई and I met with a lot of like-minded people. And when you do work and you are able to create a difference, able to create an impact, no matter how big or small it is, that matters. And that was such a huge learning experience for me. कि जी आपको like आपका perspective खुलता है and you sort of put yourself out there in the professional environment while being a medical student, which teaches you a lot. ठीक है, now हमारे ज़माने में पढ़ाई की requirements were totally different. And some people say कि जी हमने जितना टाइम गुजारा पीडब्ल्यू में शायद वो अनहेल्दी था. ठीक है, now times are changing. I realize that and I agree to that. But we feel we serve का जो नारा है that should still survive and live. And that is, and as I said, that is something that should stay with us even when we practice as professionals. That is a PW trademark, but honestly, that should be a professional trademark for every doctor. तो इसलिए मैंने पीडब्ल्यू में काम किया जी एंड अल्लाह ताला ने हमें बहुत सिखाया और वी हैड ग्रेट फन. बड़ा मजा आया, बड़ी लड़ाइयाँ की थी, ओहो बड़ा मजा आया था.
Yes, PW is like a family. That is true. मतलब सीखने को बहुत कुछ मिलता है. I guess that's it. I would thank you again for this amazing session, sir. And I'll be ending the meeting now. Thank you everyone for joining in. Allah Hafiz and good night.
Allah Hafiz. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.